Hello, welcome. My name is Rex Leone, and it is 7 Pillar Sunday. So, gonna wing it. I didn't end up writing a script today, and I know I'm gonna forget one of the pillars, but as the title says, I am really considering making a podcast. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for a while. I actually had one last year. Was it last year? And the podcast I'm looking at doing is pretty much the exact same concept as what I had before, but it was a daily podcast, kind of like my workout journals as I was training for. Well, back then I was training to do my first physique competition by 2028. Now that I actually have a show picked out for next year, I was thinking about doing that concept again, but making a weekly podcast and kind of just doing a check-in, talking about how my week is going with the training and stuff like that. That's so it'd be like it's gonna be called I'm leaning towards calling it the weekly check-in podcast. And weekly check-in podcast is Rex Leone, and I'm aiming for it to start at the end of August. So basically it'd be like a 52-week podcast series, as I talk about my prepping and workout journals and how I'm doing mentally and stuff like that. So that's what the plan is at the moment. As for the pillars, let me bring up something that's got my pillars up. So kind of goals and what I've been learning through my each pillars. So Sunday style. I don't know if it's really style. I was watching like a video on like how to de-bloat your face, and so I might try some of that. Also, it's watching, or the podcast I listened to was like men's style that women like, and a lot of it I'm already doing. Some of it I could need to work on. I need to get some better shoes. Monday social. What did I do on social? I don't remember. But goals, I mean, still need to kind of work on the eye contact. I mean, I really haven't had much eye contact capabilities to do eye contact. I mean, this week was kind of a bad week. For me, just, yeah, kind of rough mentally. Also, working out was a little tough. I think I mentioned this earlier in the week, but I was trying to do squats, and I couldn't. There's like a pain in my shoulder, and I just could not keep the bar on it. I don't know what. I don't remember pulling it. I don't remember doing anything like that. And but yeah, so I mean, like, I even tried doing doing with just a bar and no weight, and it was just hurting. I'm going to probably, I have a landmine, so I'm probably going to set that up and uh try hack squats with the landmine, so I can see how that works, and so I can kind of rest my uh shoulder. I'm also not rucking right now. I'm not carrying the weight. Even though when I rucked, uh, even after I noticed my shoulder hurting, um, I could still carry the vest. Uh, I, I, I just, I just would rather not risk it. I also feel like I was beating up my back a little with the vest, so I'm gonna take a. I'm still gonna be doing like the walking the distance, but I just won't be doing rucking with it. Uh let's bring up the so social media. Still kind of, I kind of cleaned up my uh Instagram, and uh kind of starting fresh with that. And so I only have one post on it, which is my announcement that I'm going to be doing the show on August of 2027. And yeah, uh so probably be working some more on the social media. Instagram, try to grow that. Start posting more. Um, Photography. I want to start figuring out what's the best settings for my progress pictures, and then I want to take weekly updates on my progress. Um, Gardening. I am trying to. Uh, I want to get better at changing my watering time, so it becomes a little bit more scheduled. So I'm going to start doing that. How my morning routine has been is wake up, I pour a cup of coffee, then I go do my face care, I then make my bed, I then uh, drink my coffee as I do my Bible reading, I then uh, do like a puzzle, and then I go and I watch a little show with my dad. It's something we've been doing for probably a year now. I've been watching a morning show for a few years, but my dad joined me for probably almost a year now. And but I'm thinking about doing that is before we start the show to go water my plants and kind of keep that as part of my routine. That's kind of my goal for gardening. Finances, still just kind of learning finances. Try to get that. Still need to get that paperwork mailed out so I can get that life insurance check. That's going to help out a lot. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much what our goals are for the week. Um, as for how the week's going to be going for uh, stream. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we will be continuing on Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, trying to complete that. I finally got that large body card today. So, woo, that feels. I mean, I actually even started Googling, is it possible to get the large body card in Wonderland, because it just was not dropping at all. And I was like, I'm done. I'm getting like every other card except that one, and it just would not drop. But we got that, and I got Lethal Frame. So we're going to be cheesing bosses from now on. As for Saturday, what I'm leaning towards doing for Saturday is I want to do a test run on a how to watch videos. So I think we're gonna do like a Laurel and Hardy little mini short marathon. So maybe like 4 or 5 shorts while watching Laurel and Hardy. So that's what my grab bag Saturday is going to be looking like. And then Sunday, we'll do some more talking and we'll do Great Gatsby. So, continue with that. So, I think that's about it, unless anyone's got some questions. But I think we should go get ready. And we shall give me a few minutes and we'll get ready for The Great Gatsby, Chapter 2. So, see you in a few. Hello, welcome to Story Time with Rex Leone. I am your host, Rex Leone. And today we are continuing with The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is a dramatized edition that I got from LibriVox, which is public domain. And we will be continuing with Power Wash Simulator as we listen to this edition. And still kind of, we didn't even get to Gatsby until like the very end of the first chapter, so that should be interesting to kind of. Sorry, I was looking something up. Really get to know him. Why is he called the Great Gatsby? And kind of figure out what's the story. I mean, again, we're still early on, so let's get ready. And the Great Gatsby. All right, let's start.
Chapter 2 of The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. About halfway between West Egg and New York, the motor road hastily joins the railroad and runs beside it for a quarter of a mile so as to shrink away from a certain desolate area of land. This is a valley of ashes, a fantastic farm where ashes grow like weeds into ridges and hills and grotesque gardens, where ashes take the forms of houses and chimneys and rising smoke, and finally, with a transcendent effort of men, and move dimly and already crumbling through the powdery air. Occasionally a line of gray cars crawls along an invisible track, shoots out at Gatsby Creek, and comes to rest. And immediately the ash-gray men swarm up with leaden spades and stir up an impenetrable cloud which screens their obscure operation from your sight. But above the gray land and the spasms of bleak dust which drift endlessly over it, you perceive, after a moment, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are 1 yard high. They look out of no face, but instead from a pair of enormous yellow spectacles which pass over a non-existent nose. Evidently some wild wag of an oculist set them there to fatten his practice in the Borough Queen, and then sank down himself into eternal blindness, or forgot them and moved away. But his eyes, dimmed a little by many paintless days under sun and rain, flew down over the solemn dungeon ground. The Valley of Ashes is bounded on one side by a small foul river, and when the drawbridge is up to let barges through, the passengers on waiting trains can stare at the dismal scene for as long as half an hour. There is always a halt there of at least a minute, and it was because of this that I first met Tom Buchanan's mistress. The fact that he had one was insisted upon wherever he was known. His acquaintances resented the fact that he turned up in popular restaurants with her, and leaving her at a table, sauntered about, chatting with whomsoever he knew. Though I was curious to see her, I had no desire to meet her. But I did. I went up to New York with Tom on the train one afternoon, and when we stopped by the ash chute, he jumped to his feet, and taking hold of my elbow, literally forced me from the car.
We're getting off.
He insisted.
I want you to meet my girl.
I think he pinked up a good deal at mention, and his determination to have my company bordered on violence. The supercilious assumption was that on Sunday afternoon I had nothing better to do. I followed him over a low whitewashed railroad fence, and we walked back 100 yards along the road, under Dr. Eckelberg's precision scale. The only building in sight was a small block of yellow brick sitting on the edge of the wasteland. A sort of compact Main Street ministering to it, and contiguous to absolutely nothing. One of the 3 shops contained for rent, and another was an all-night restaurant approached by a trail of ashes. The third was a garage. Repairs. George B. Wilson. Cars bought and sold. And I followed Tom inside. The interior was unprosperous and bare. The only car visible was the dust-covered wreck of a Ford which couched in a dim corner. It had occurred to me that the shadow of a garage must be a blind, and that sumptuous and romantic apartments are concealed overhead, when the proprietor himself appeared in the door of an office, wiping his hands on a piece of waste. He was a blond, spiritless man, anemic and faintly handsome. When he saw us, a damp gleam of hope sprang into his light blue eyes.
Hello, Wilson, old man.
Said Tom, slapping him jovially on the shoulder.
How's business?
I can't complain.
Answered Wilson unconvincingly.
When are you gonna sell me that car?
Next week. I've got my man working on it now.
Works pretty slow, don't he?
No, he doesn't.
Said Tom coldly.
And if you feel that way about it, maybe I'd better sell it somewhere else after all.
I don't mean that.
Explained Wilson quickly.
I just meant...
His voice faded off, and Tom glanced impatiently around the garage. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs, and in a moment, the thickish figure of a woman blocked out the light from the office door. She was in the middle thirties, and faintly stout, but she carried her surplus flesh sensuously, as some women can. Her face, above a spotted dress of dark blue crepey sheen, contained no facet or gleam of beauty, but there was an immediately perceptible vitality about her, as if the nerves of her body were continually smoldering. She smiled slowly, and walking through her husband, as if he were a ghost, shook hands with Tom, looking him flush in the eyes. Then she wet her lips, and without turning around, spoke to her husband in a soft, hoarse voice.
Get some chairs, why don't you? So somebody can sit down.
Oh, sure.
Agreed Wilson hurriedly, and went toward the little office, mingling immediately with the cement color of the wall. A white ashen dust veiled his dark suit and his pale hair, as it veiled everything in the vicinity, except his wife, who moved close to Tom.
I want to see you.
Said Tom intently.
Get on the next train.
All right.
I'll meet you by the newsstand on the lower level.
She nodded, and moved away from him just as George Wilson emerged with 2 chairs from his office door. We waited for her down the road and out of sight. It was a few days before the 4th of July, and a gray, scrawny Italian child was 7 torpedoes in a row along the railroad track.
Terrible place, isn't it?
Said Tom, changing a frown with Dr. Eckelberg. Awful.
It does her good to get away.
Doesn't her husband object?
Wilson, he thinks she goes to see her sister in New York. He's so dumb he doesn't know he's alive.
So Tom Buchanan and his girl and I went up together to New York. Or not quite together, for Mrs. Wilson sat discreetly in another car. Tom preferred that much to the sensibilities of those East Eggers who might be on the train. She had changed her dress to a brown-figured muslin, which stripped tight over her rather wide hips as Tom helped her to the platform in New York. At the newsstand, she bought a copy of Town Shadow and a moving picture magazine, and in the station drugstore, some cold cream and a small flask of perfume. Upstairs, in the solemn echoing drive, she let 4 taxicabs drive away, before she selected a new one, lavender-colored with gray upholstery, and in this she slid out from the mast of the station into the glowing sunshine. But immediately, she turned sharply from the window and, leaning forward, tapped on the front glass.
I want to get one of those dogs,
She said earnestly.
I want to get one for the apartment. They're nice to have, a dog.
We backed up to a gray old man who bore an absurd resemblance to John D. Rockefeller. In a basket swung from his neck cowered a dozen very recent puppies of an indeterminate breed.
What kind are they?
Asked Mrs. Wilson eagerly as he came to the taxi window.
All kinds. What kind do you want, maybe? I'd like to get one of those police dogs. I don't suppose you got that kind.
The man peered doubtfully into the basket, lunged in his hand, and drew one up, wriggling by the back of the neck.
That's no police dog,
said Tom.
No, it's not exactly a police dog,
said the man, with disappointment in his voice.
It's more of an Airedale.
He passed his hand over the brown wash rag in the back.
Look at that coat. Some coat. That's a dog that'll never bother you with coming home. Oh, I think it's cute,
said Mrs. Wilson enthusiastically.
How much is it? That dog?
She looked at it admiringly.
That dog will cost you $10.
The Airedale. Undoubtedly, there was an Airedale contained in it somewhere. The feet were startlingly white. Changed hands and settled down into Mrs. Wilson's lap, where she fondled the weatherproof coat with rapture.
Is it a boy or a girl?
She asked delicately.
That dog? That dog's a boy,
It's a bit.
said Tom decisively.
Here's your money. Go and buy 10 more dogs with it.
We drove over to Fifth Avenue, so warm and soft, almost pastoral in the summer Sunday afternoon, that I wouldn't have been surprised to see a great flock of white sheep turn the corner. Hold on, I said. I have to leave you here,
No, you don't.
interposed Tom quickly.
Her will be hurt if you don't come up to the apartment. Won't you, Mother?
Come on.
She urged.
I'll telephone my sister, Chap. She's said to be very beautiful by people who ought to know.
Well, I'd like to, but... We went on, cutting back again over the park toward the West Hundreds. At 158th Street, the cab stopped at one slice in the long white cake of apartment houses. Throwing a regal homecoming glance around the neighborhood, Mrs. Wilson gathered up her dog and her other purchases and went haughtily in.
I'm going to have the McKinleys come up.
She announced as we rose in the elevator.
And, of course, I gotta call up my sister, too.
The apartment was on the top floor. A small living room, a small dining room, a small bedroom, and a bath. The living room was crowded to the doors with a set of tapestried furniture, entirely too large for it, so that to move about was to stumble continually over scenes of ladies screaming in the gardens of Versailles. The only picture was an over-enlarged photograph, apparently a hen sitting on a blurred rock. Looked at from the distance, however, the hen resolved itself into a bonnet, and the countenance of a stout old lady beamed down into the room. Several old copies of Town Tattle lay on the table, together with a copy of Simon called Tudor, and some of the small scandal magazines of Broadway. Mrs. Wilson was first concerned with the dog. A reluctant elevator boy went for a box of straw and some milk, to which he added, on his own initiative, a tin of large, hard dog biscuits, one of which decomposed apathetically in the saucer of milk all afternoon. Meanwhile, Tom brought out a bottle of whiskey from a locked bureau door. I have been drunk just twice in my life, and the second time was that afternoon. So, everything that happened has a dim, hazy cast over it. Although, until after 8 o'clock, the apartment was full of cheerful sun. Sitting on Tom's lap, Mrs. Wilson called up several people on the telephone. Then there were no cigarettes, and I went out to buy some at the drugstore on the corner. When I came back, they had disappeared, so I sat down discreetly in the living room and read a chapter of Simon Called Peter. Either it was terrible stuff, or the whiskey distorted things, because it didn't make any sense to me. Just as Tom and Myrtle, after the first drink, Mrs. Wilson and I called each other by our first names, reappeared, the company commenced to arrive at the apartment door. The sister, Catherine, was a slender, worldly girl of about 30, with a solid, sticky bob of red hair and a complexion powdered milky white. Her eyebrows had been plucked and then drawn on again at a more rakish angle. But the efforts of nature toward the restoration of the old alignment gave a blurred air to her face. When she moved about, there was an incessant clicking as innumerable pottery bracelets jingled up and down upon her arms. She came in with such a proprietary haste and looked around so possessively at the furniture that I wondered if she lived here. But when I asked her, she laughed immoderately, repeated my question out loud, and told me she lived
with a girlfriend at a hotel.
Mr. McKee was a pale, feminine man from the flat below. He had just shaved, so there was a white spot of lather on his cheekbone, and he was most respectful in his greeting to everyone in the room. He informed me that he was
in the artistic game,
and I gathered later that he was a photographer, and had made the dim enlargement of Mrs. Wilson's mother, which hovered like ectoplasm on the wall. His wife was shrill, languid, handsome, and loyal. She told me with pride that her husband had photographed her 127 times since they had been married. Mrs. Wilson had changed her costume some time before, and was now attired in an elaborate afternoon dress of cream-colored chiffon, which gave out a continual rustle as she swept about the room. With the influence of her dress, her personality had also undergone a change. The intense vitality that had been so remarkable in the garage was converted into impressive hauteur. Her laughter, her gestures, her assertions became more violently effective moment by moment, and as she expanded, the room grew smaller around her, until she seemed to be revolving in a noisy, clicking pivot through the smoky air.
My dear,
She told her sister in a high-mincing shout.
most of these fellas will cheat you every time. All they think of is money. I had a woman up here last week to look at my feet, and when she gave me the bill, you'd have thought she had my appendicitis out.
What was the name of the woman?
Asked Mrs. McKee.
Mrs. Abraham. She goes around looking at people's feet in their own home.
I like your dress.
Remarked Mrs. McKee.
I think it's adorable.
Mrs. Wilson rejected the compliment by raising her eyebrow in disdain.
It's just a crazy old thing.
She said,
I just put it on sometimes when I don't care what I look like.
But it looks wonderful on you, if you know what I mean.
pursued Mrs. McKee.
If Chester could only get you in that pose, I think he could make something of it.
We all looked in silence at Mrs. Wilson, who removed a strand of hair from over her eyes and looked back at us with a brilliant smile. Mr. McKee regarded her intently with his head on one side, and then moved his hand back and forth, slowly in front of his face.
I should shut off the light.
He said after a moment.
I'd like to bring out the modeling with the features, and I'd try to get hold of all the back.
I wouldn't think of changing the light.
Cried Mrs. McKee.
I think it's...
Her husband said. And we all looked at the subject again, whereupon Tom Buchanan yawned audibly and got to his feet.
Oh, you McKees have something to drink.
He said,
Get some more ice and mineral water, Myrtle, before everybody goes to sleep.
I told that boy about the ice.
Myrtle raised her eyebrows in despair at the shiftlessness of the lower order.
These people, you have to keep after them all the time.
She looked at me and laughed pointlessly. Then she flounced over to the dog, kissed it with ecstasy, and swept into the kitchen and found that a dozen chefs awaited her ordered fare.
You've done some nice things out on Long Island.
Asserted Mr. McKee. Tom looked at him blankly.
2 of them I have framed downstairs.
Do what?
Demanded Tom.
2 settings. One of them I call Montauk Point the Goal, and the other I call Montauk Point the Sea.
His sister, Catherine, sat down beside me on the couch.
Do you live down on Long Island, too?
She inquired. I live at West Edge.
Really? I was down there at a party about a month ago. At a man named Gatsby. Do you know him?
I live next door to him.
Well, they say he's a nephew or a cousin of Kaiser Wilhelm. That's where all his money comes from.
Really? She nodded.
I'm scared of him. I'd hate to have him get anything on me.
This absorbing information about my neighbor was interrupted by Mrs. McKee pointing suddenly at Catherine.
Chester, I think you could do something with her.
She broke out, but Mr. McKee only nodded in a bored way and turned his attention to Tom.
I'd like to do more work on Long Island. If I could get the entry. If they should give me a start.
She'll give you a letter of introduction, won't you, Butter?
Said Tom, breaking into a short shout of laughter as Mrs. Wilson entered with a tray.
Do what?
She asked, startled.
You'll give McKee a letter of introduction to your husband so he can do some studies of him.
His lips moved silently for a moment as he invented.
George B. Wilson at the gasoline pump, or something like that.
Catherine leaned close to me and whispered in my ear.
Neither of them can stand the person they're married to.
Can't they?
Can't stand them.
She looked at Myrtle and then at Tom.
What I say is, why go on living with them if they can't stand them? If I was them, I'd get a divorce and get married to each other right away.
Doesn't she like Wilson either? The answer to this was unexpected. It came from Myrtle, who had overheard the question, and it was violent and extreme.
You see,
Cried Catherine triumphantly. She lowered her voice again.
it's really his wife that's keeping them apart. She's a Catholic, and they don't believe in divorce.
Phoebe is not a Catholic, and I was a little shocked at the elaborateness of their lie.
When they do get married,
Continued Catherine.
they're going west to live for a while until it blows over.
It would be more discreet to go to Europe,
Oh, do you like Europe?
she explained surprisingly.
I just got back from Monte Carlo.
Really?
Just last year, I went over there with another girl.
Did you stay long?
No, we just went to Monte Carlo and back. We went by way of Marseille. We had over $1,200 when we started, but we got just out of it all in 2 days into private rooms. We've had an awful time getting back, I can tell you. God, I hated that town.
The afternoon sky bloomed in the windows for a moment, like the blue honey of the Mediterranean. Then the shrill voice of Mrs. McKee called me back into the room.
I almost made a mistake too.
She declared vigorously.
I almost married a little cuss who'd been after me for years. I knew he was below me. Everybody kept saying to me, "Lucille, that man's way below you." But if I hadn't met Chester, he'd got me sure.
Yes, but listen.
Said Myrtle Wilson, nodding her head up and down.
At least you didn't marry him.
I know I didn't.
Well, I married him,
Said Myrtle ambiguously.
and that's the difference between your case and mine.
Why did you, Myrtle?
Commanded Catherine.
Nobody forced you to.
Myrtle considered.
I married him because I thought he was a gentleman.
she said finally.
I thought he knew something about breeding, but he wasn't fit to lick my shoe.
You were crazy about him for a while,
said Catherine.
Crazy about him?
Cried Myrtle incredulously.
Who said I was crazy about him? I never was any more crazy about him than I was about that man there.
She pointed suddenly at me, and everyone looked at me accusingly. I tried to show by my expression that I had played no part in the past.
The only crazy I was when I married him. I knew right away I made a mistake. He borrowed somebody's best suit to get married in and never even told me about it. And the man came after us one day when he was out. "Oh, is that your suit?" I said. This is the first I ever heard about it. But I gave it to him, and then I laid down and tried to beat the band all afternoon.
She looked around to see who was listening.
She really ought to get away from him,
resumed Catherine to me.
They've been living over the garage for 11 years, and Tom's the first sweetie she's ever had.
The bottle of whiskey, the second one, was now in constant demand by all present, excepting Catherine, who
felt just as good on nothing at all.
Tom rang for the janitor and sent him for some celebrated sandwiches, which were a complete supper in themselves. I wanted to get out and walk eastward toward the park through the soft twilight, but each time I tried to go, I became entangled in some wild, strident argument which pulled me back, as if with ropes, into my chair. Yet, high over the city, our line of yellow windows must have contributed their share of human secrecy to the casual walker in darkening streets. And how was him, too, looking up and wondering? I was within and without, simultaneously enchanted and repelled by the inexhaustible variety of life. Myrtle pulled her chair close to mine, and suddenly her warm breath poured over me the story of her first meeting with Tom.
It was on the two little seats facing each other that are always the last ones left on the train. I was going up to New York to see my sister and spend the night. He had on a dress suit and patent leather shoes, and I couldn't keep my eyes off him. But every time he looked at me, I had to pretend to be looking at the advertising over his head. When he came into the station, he was next to me, and his white shirt front pressed against my arm. And so I told him I'd have to call a policeman. But he knew I lied. I was so excited that when I got into a taxi with him, I didn't hardly know I wasn't getting into a subway train. All I kept thinking about over and over was, you can't live forever. You can't live forever.
She turned to Mrs. McKee, and the room rang full of her artificial laughter.
My dear,
she cried.
I'm going to give you this dress as soon as I'm through with it. I've got to get another one tomorrow. I'm going to make a list of all the things I've got to get. A massage, and a wave, and collar for the dog, and one of those cute little ashtrays where you touch a string, and a wreath with a black silk bow from Mother's grave that will last all summer. I've got to write down a list so I don't forget all the things I've got to do.
It was 9 o'clock. Almost immediately afterwards, I looked at my watch and found it was 10. Mr. McKee was asleep on the chair, with his fist clenched in his lap, like a photograph of a man of action. Taking out my handkerchief, I wiped from his cheek the remains of the spot of dried lather that had worried me all the afternoon. The little dog was sitting on the table, looking with blind eyes through the smoke, and from time to time groaning faintly. People disappeared, reappeared, made plans to go somewhere, and then lost each other, searched for each other, found each other a few feet away. Sometime toward midnight, Tom Buchanan and Mrs. Wilson stood face to face with deafening, impassioned voices whether Mrs. Wilson had any right to mention Daisy's name.
Daisy! Daisy! Daisy!
shouted Mrs. Wilson,
I'll say it whenever I want to. Gatsby! Gatsby!
making a short, deft movement. Tom Buchanan broke her nose with his open hand. Then there were bloody towels on the bathroom floor. The men's voices scolding.
How dare you!
High over the confusion, a long broken wail of pain. Mr. McKee awoke from his daze and started in a daze towards the door. When he had gone halfway, he turned around and stared at the scene. His wife and Catherine scolding and consoling as they stumbled here and there among the crowded furniture with articles of age, and the despairing figure on the couch, bleeding fluently, and trying to spread a copy of Town Chatter over the tapestry scenes of Versailles. Ernest looked at McKee's son and continued on out the door. Taking my hat from the chandelier, I followed.
Been to lunch sometime.
He suggested as we glided down in the elevator. Where?
Anyway,
Keep your hands off the leather.
Snapped the elevator boy,
I beg your pardon.
said Mr. McKee with dignity.
Didn't know how to touch it.
All right, I agreed. I'll be glad to. I was standing beside his bed, and he was sitting up between the sheets. Clad in his underwear, with a great portfolio in his hands.
Beauty and the Beast, Loneliness, Old Thresh Report, Brooklyn Bridge.
Then I was lying half asleep in the cold lower level of the Pennsylvania station, staring at the morning Tribune and waiting for the 4 o'clock train. End of chapter 2.
All right, that was chapter 2. So still no Gatsby. Like, was kind of confused by that. I honestly was thinking, like, did we skip a chapter, or some sense, like, it ended with seeing Gatsby going for like a green light, and I don't know. Still kind of early. Still kind of confirming I don't like Tom. Like, I was kind of, he was making those racist comments in the previous book. I wasn't sure if that was like just normal for, because this was take place in the 20s, so of course it'd probably be a different time, but and so I wasn't sure if it's like we were not supposed to like him, or if that was just what was the majority of people were thinking back then, and he was like reflecting that. But like cheating on his wife, which I don't understand the whole you're cheating on your wife, but like your cousins, I said they're cousins, husband's cheating on her, and you're hanging out with him. Like, I don't know, that seems kind of weird to me. Yeah, but I don't like Tom. Yeah, so yeah, still not sure what to make of the story yet. This just kind of seemed out of place. So anyway, yesterday we were trying to get the online trophies for Infamous 2 and Infamous Festival of Blood. We got all of them for Infamous 2, but we just got to the point where we could get the trophies for Infamous Festival of Blood. So I'm going to take a quick break. We'll get that ready, and we will do more of that. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Rain on the wires, ash on my hands. Empire City taught me how to take a stand. Coursing in my veins, a storm in my chest. You wanted a monster, now watch what I can do best. I can feel it rise up through the skin. If I fall tonight, I get back up again. I'm not your weapon, I'm not your chain. I light up the dark, I take the pain. I'm not your weapon, call my name. I run like thunder, I break the cage. Concrete and sirens, smoke in the sky. Every broken promise still won't let me die. Beneath the red moon, I hear that call. Choose a new tomorrow, or let the city fall. I can feel it rise up through the skin. If I fall tonight, I get back up again. I'm not your weapon, I'm not your chain. I light up the dark, I take the pain. I'm not your weapon, call my name. I run like thunder, I break the cage. Hold the line through the fire and the flood. I'm alive with the crackling blood. One more shot, one more chance to be free. If the whole world shakes, it still won't take me. I'm not your pain, I'm out of the dark, I break the cage. I'm not your weapon, call my name. I run like thunder, I break the cage.
All right, welcome back. So we are now Infamous Festival of Blood. We've already beat the main story. We did that yesterday. So now we just need to do the user-generated content. I think it's like 20 we have to complete. And unlike Infamous 2, where I could repeat over and over again, this time we have to do... Let me just double check. Should have brought this up while on break. Infamous Festival of Blood. Yeah, we have to play 20 Festival of Blood user-generated content missions. I cannot repeat them like Infamous 2, so we shall search trophy for trophy hunter. We've done one. Either generate content, search, trophies. What's the trophy called? Play. Okay, let's check out. No. Play. Play, create, scare. Okay, so these will award you the play. All right. Okay. It shouldn't take too long. They're counting because we got Sticky Rocket created, so. Which I don't understand why you can't get those till post game. We're almost halfway there. Or maybe halfway there. If the first two counted... Plus the grenade. This is pretty easy trophy. Right, we're about halfway there. full vampire skin earned. Which, I just realized you're not going to be able to get these abilities after the 31st. Really do a remake. I don't keep people wanting like a new InFamous game, or I've heard rumors of a remake. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Or I have an idea for an InFamous, like a new InFamous game where they could bring back Cole. Alright, we got the trophy. No, we're done. Alright. That was it. I mean, I guess technically we could have done that last night, but it was kind of my normal, usually my set came right about around 10:30, so anyway, that is it for tonight. Well, kind of short stream. Only a little over an hour and 11 minutes, but thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with Kingdom Hearts: A Chain of Memories, and we'll be completing another floor. So maybe 2. Who knows? But thanks, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.